decided to make a historic change in the in this organization.
I'm going to be coaching. I can't give you a time frame, but I'm going to, look at my options, see if, what options are out there.
You heard it. Mike Shanahan says he will coach next year. The question is where and who will be the next coach in Denver. Adam Schefter, Jamie Dukes, and Rod Woodson will weigh in. It's the old versus the new in the desert Saturday. Jamie Dukes will go one-on-one with veteran Kurt Warner as the Cardinals prepare to host rookie Matt Ryan and the Falcons. And two old friends who used to share game plans will be on opposite sides of the field Sunday. It's Eagles head coach Andy Reid against Vikings head coach and former Philly offensive coordinator Brad Childress. NFL Total Access starts right now. Was this guy really fired? Mike Shanahan's farewell Wednesday in Denver was gracious and classy.
It's tough, but I'm a big boy. I can understand why he wants to go in that direction.
Does anyone still think Chad Pennington was downgraded from the Jets to a rebuilding project in Miami?
I think we're the epitome of what a team is all about. This time last year, I'm getting ready to watch the ball drop in Times Square.
And we'll unveil the top 10 plays of the
Jake Delhomme throwing left side, completes, got Steve Smith out there, first down, and Smith pulls away. It's got potential. He's down the far sideline, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Carolina Panthers.
The Denver Broncos this year became the first NFL team to blow a divisional title despite a 3-game lead with 3 games to play. As a result, for the first time in his 14-year head coaching career at Denver, Mike Shanahan failed to take the Broncos to the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season. And perhaps as a result of that, Tuesday, Shanahan was fired. Wednesday, Shanahan said he understood why the Broncos organization moved on.
I feel good about the job I've done. The thing is, you've got to make some tough decisions when you run an organization. You got to do things that are in the best interests of the organization. And Pat felt that that was right, and I understand the direction, he went. And I got no problem with it because he's the best owner in sports. Hey, we didn't win for the last 3 years. We were 8-8, heck, we were a 500 team. And you get judged by performance. I didn't get the job done, and that's the bottom line. And your job is to win and to win championships, and we have not won a championship for a while. Pat Bowlen. That's tough because he's a great friend. He will always be my great friend. Best owner in sports. And I appreciate every opportunity you gave me to be successful.
I think it was time for the organization to move on and for Mike to move on. I haven't given any consideration whatsoever to who's going to be the next head coach. That process has not started. I want somebody to come in here and win a Super Bowl. That's my number one goal. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm here for.
And now we bring in a guy who has his finger on the pulse of all NFL coaching changes, Adam Schefter, who actually broke the Shanahan story yesterday. Adam, now that the Broncos are among the coachless teams, where do they go from here?
Well, Randy, they have a number of options, and they're going to have a long, lengthy, exhaustive list that they go through that will include offensive-minded coaches, defensive-minded coaches, older coaches, younger coaches, pro coaches, and college coaches. I think you could start with a guy like Josh McDaniels, who has the type of offensive pedigree. Bob Stoops, if they look to the college level, he does coach at Pat Bowlen's alma mater. Leslie Frazier in Minnesota has been a very impressive coach and has a bright future in the league. Jim Fossil used to coach in Denver, spent 30 minutes on the field Sunday night talking to Pat Bowlen. Mike Heimerdinger, former Broncos assistant coach, who's now the Titans offensive coordinator. There are any number of ways the Broncos can go with this search. There's not one candidate right now that they are zeroed in on. They've been thinking about this for a while. They've been mulling this move. They've been building some research in the background background in the event that this day would one day come. All organizations are always looking to see who might be next, and that's a challenge that the Broncos now face. I don't think it's going to be a quick search. I do think it's going to be an exhaustive search, and I do think that ultimately, when all is said and done, the Broncos will come up with a coach that they feel is the best candidate to replace Mike Shanahan.
And after 14 years as head coach at Denver and 2 Super Bowl wins, now suddenly Shanahan is out of a job. What's he going to do now?
Well, it doesn't take long before other teams weigh in with the idea that they'd already like to hire or talk to, at the very least, Mike Shanahan. The Cleveland Browns already on record as saying they want to talk to Mike Shanahan. The Detroit Lions want to talk to Mike Shanahan. It would not be surprising to see the New York Jets want to talk to Mike Shanahan. And so you get the idea, Randy. Any team with an opening, and even teams that don't have openings, are going to be in the market to look at and talk to a potential Hall of Fame coach who's won 2 Super Bowls. Rare is the time when a Super Bowl winning coach is let go almost in the prime of his coaching career. Mike still burns to coach again, and I think the events in Denver will fuel him onward in the future. Now, the question is whether Mike Shanahan will even want to coach in 2009. He's going to take some time, sit back, process all the information. I would imagine at some point he'll listen to what these teams have to say before he makes any decision. The good thing for him is he's in no rush to have to return. The Broncos still owe him 3 years in his contract, so Mike Shanahan can sit back and be selective in the next job that he chooses.
All right, thanks, Adam. And as usual, Adam Schefter and his special guest, his BlackBerry, will be with us a little bit later in the program. And look who else we summoned to try to make some sense out of this, if indeed any sense can be made out of it. Jamie Dukes and Rod Woodson. It's going to be an awfully tough guy to replace there, Mike Shanahan. So who do you think would be the best fit right now of the people that are out there and waiting for Denver?
I don't think there is another. I don't think there's going to be a guy that's better fit for this football team. And when you fire your head coach, you're saying to yourself that there is somebody better for this football team this year. And I don't know there is a better fit for the Denver Broncos than Mike Shanahan and what he did for that organization and what he could do on the offensive side. Think about what they had. They lost all their running backs, a young quarterback, no defense really. Linebackers are young. Defensive line is, underperformed, and they still finished 8-8. So I don't think there's going to be a better fit for this football team this year than Mike Shanahan.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that because when I look at the team, because of what he's built offensively, for example, their problems to me have always been about their defense. And so I think with what he's built, even going back to his quote, he's talking about if the ownership has any sense, and he's not putting pressure on them, you stay with what they've been doing. Jay Cutler's the answer. We know that at quarterback. You obviously got to find a running back. Rick Dennison is a guy who's the offense coordinator. You leave him in there as the offense coordinator. You go find your guy, Rex Ryan. Go find Spags from the New York Giants.
Defensive-minded guys.
Yeah, bring a defensive guy to turn that defense around, and you're in great shape because that's been the problem with this team. They put up more than enough offense to make things happen, but it's time for Spags or even Rex Ryan, for that matter, to come in, take that defense to the next level, and then I think this team is going to be fine. But I think it was a very profound statement that he made in that you want to keep all the continuity that they built on the offense right where it is. You just got to get that defensive side of the ball fixed.
Yeah, despite having a new running back every couple of games, they still were number 2 in the NFL in total offense.
Rod's pager was going off. He used to use the pager. They were trying to see if he'd come run the ball.
Well, let's look at this now from exactly the opposite direction, all right? Mike Shanahan now, assuming he wants to coach next season, and he said this morning that he does. We'll see if he stands to that. But which team would be the best fit for Mike to go to now?
I'm looking at the teams that have a vacancy at a head coaching spot, but also at a GM spot. And you look at the Cleveland Browns, 2 young quarterbacks to look at. A lot of pieces that are in place in that organization. Defensive side, they got a nice D-line, a good linebacking core. Secondary needs to be worked with. The offensive side, so many weapons. So I look at the Cleveland Browns saying this guy can really change this football team around in 1 year, because I think that system he will bring to the offensive side will help out so much that they'll find that efficiency they had last year.
The 2 things that really jumped to mind, actually, and I think Adam touched on all 3, really, I think when you look at the Jets. But the 2 teams I want to talk about, you just mentioned Cleveland. The other team, the Detroit Lions. Detroit has a very interesting decision to make. This kid that's coming out next year, reportedly coming out, the underclassman Matthew Stafford from the University of Georgia, he's already began to inquire about where his status is. Well, right now, everybody recognizes him as the top quarterback. You would love to have a guy like Mike Shanahan, because Stafford has similar qualities to that of Jay Cutler. And so he's a guy that's also kind of a gym rat kind of a quarterback who's just waiting to be nurtured. So if you're the Detroit Lions, to me, it makes more sense to do whatever you have to do to bring that guy in. That will then allow you to draft Matthew Stafford.
Speaking of guys that the Broncos might be looking at, it just came over the wire not too long ago that the New York Jets have received permission to talk now with the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Rex Ryan. So we'll, of course, be following that story. Adam Schefter's BlackBerry will be buzzing about that one as well. We have much more to come here on Total Access. Some surprise findings on the coaching circuit and some hot commodities looking to go to the next level. Adam Schefter will address some of those vacancies in his Around the League segment. We'll take a look back at the top 10 plays from the 08 season as we get set for the playoffs kicking off this weekend. And Chad Pennington was a big part of Miami's huge turnaround this year. The Ravens defense had success against the Dolphins earlier this season. Scott Hansen has a report from Miami coming up next.
A New Year's Day BCS doubleheader starts with the Rose Bowl. Coaching legend Joe Paterno and his Nittany Lions take on the Trojans as Penn State and USC go head-to-head in the Rose Bowl. Then in the Orange Bowl, the Cincinnati Bearcats look to claw out a win against Virginia Tech's Hokies. A BCS doubleheader tonight on NASN.
Never, ever take winning for granted.
Manning now fires. Intercepted!
Didn't do enough as a quarterback. Disappointing.
He's back. Here's the blitz. He's hit!
He's hit, and down he goes! Another sack!
And we're feeling sick in this locker room.
He's got to air one out down the middle. Makes the interception. Throws the right side. Intercepted. He's going to the house.
It's our job to score points. We need to do that better. Kind of regroup and play better next week.
Will you get that camera out my face, man?
There's one right out of the football follies for you.
Slippery little double this football today.
You gotta be
Shameful.
kidding.
Embarrassing. What in the world happened? Holy smoke.
Turnarounds in the NFL, but what the Dolphins did this year was more like a U-turn from 1-15 to 11-5. First team in league history to follow a one-win season with a divisional title. You could see it building all year, and now the improbable has actually happened. The Dolphins are in the playoffs Sunday against the Ravens. And with more on that, Scott Hansen reports from Miami.
The electricity in the crowd is a little higher. The play on the field is a little faster. It's just different because now you're playing for that special prize.
And with that, one of the most improbable playoff preparations in recent memory is underway. The Dolphins had what was described as an intense practice on New Year's Eve, a workout which ended with head coach Tony Sparano standing in front of the comeback team of the year and announcing to them that the NFL's comeback player of the year is their quarterback.
This time last year, I'm getting ready to watch the ball drop in Times Square. You know, no playoffs, no starting job, no anything. And now here we are playing in a wild card playoff game with a team that was 1-15 the year before. And this year we were able to move the dash over one and be 11-5.
The remarkable culture change in Miami, which began when Bill Parcells took over last December, is summarized in a 3-word team motto, which was photocopied and passed out to every player for game week.
It's been our motto all year. You know, why not us? Why not us go to playoffs? Why not us, make it to the Super Bowl and win it? So that's been our motto, and that's what we've been sticking to.
Last year was last year, so this year, I mean, we got new guys, and we're one hell of a team now.
The Dolphins plan on using their now famous Wildcat formation against the Ravens, possibly running some new plays out of the formation in an effort to neutralize Ray Lewis's exhaustive film study and pre-snap recognition skills. As head coach Tony Sperano told me, he's so good before the snap, sometimes it seems like he's in your huddle. In Davie, Florida, Scott Hansen, NFL Network.
This will be the second time the Dolphins have faced the Ravens this season. Back in Week 7, the Ravens dominated the Dolphins 27-13, holding Ronnie Brown to just 27 yards rushing and taming that Wildcat. The Dolphins ran 5 plays from the Wildcat formation and gained 4 yards. That's in character for the Ravens, who finished number 2 in the NFL in total defense.
They've expanded that package. They've grown it. It looks more and more like the complete package. They run every one of the runs off of it. They run a number of different passes off of it, expanded the gadget plays off of it, so it's tougher to defend than it was earlier in the year.
All right, guys, the last time these two teams played, the Wildcat formation was more like a domestic house cat. You heard Scott Hansen. Maybe they're adding some new wrinkles to it. Can they hope to succeed against the Ravens like that?
I want to go back to that phrase they had. It wasn't why not us. It was actually why not Chad, because really Chad Pennington has actually been the difference. But when you look at this team, though, the thing that comes to mind for me, the Baltimore Ravens, they get after you. There are givers in this world and there are takers in this world. And the Ravens are a giver. They're going to be in that backfield, Rod. They're going to be penetrating, making sure that you don't have the options to do all, because when you look at the Wildcat, it's basically teams are playing it like a draw. And so, therefore, they're not coming out the ball. They're kind of reading and reacting. Ravens are going to come get it. And they're going to come downhill.
And, you know, you look at penetrating defenses. This team likes to penetrate. And when you penetrate, it is hard. I don't care how many new wrinkles you might have out of that Wildcat. It's going to be tough to get those plays off because they are penetrating. Gap penetration will slow down the offense. You know that, Jamie. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's about the Ravens' rush offense. They're going to go as far as they can go with the rush offense. And McClain and McGahee, they were 4th in the National Football League in rushing with nobody over 1,000 yards. So you want to take all the pressure off of Joe Flacco, put it on the running game, put it on the defense, and say, Joe, just make a couple plays for us and we'll win the football game.
But why couldn't you just say it? It was the offensive line.
What's that?
All that success you talking about? You're number 4 in the league and you don't have 1,000 yards. Why couldn't you say it one time?
It was offensive line helped out a little.
There you go.
A bit.
Wow. Now, what if this game comes down to turnovers? Right? The Dolphins have tied a record for the fewest amount of turnovers by any team in a 16-game season.
But again, it goes back to that givers and takers. The Ravens are a team that takes the ball away. That's something they're synonymous with. And I think that they're still going to be able to do what they do best, and that is be aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Wildcat. That's their rush offense. Can they run against the Baltimore Ravens defense? No. So what has to happen? Chad Pennington has to go back, throw the football. Who's back there? Ed Reed. This guy's going to make plays for you. I'm going to put my money, even though I don't bet, on Ed Reed before I do for Chad Pennington.
We'll make that clear. So both of you guys think Baltimore?
Yeah, I see Baltimore winning this game.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, let's move on to Indy and San Diego. The last 3 times Phillip Rivers and the Chargers lined up against Peyton Manning and the Colts, they were all classics. Twice last year, the Chargers beat the Colts in tight games that could have gone either way. The second time in the playoffs. Earlier this year, Indy beat the Chargers in San Diego on a game-ending 51-yard Adam Vinatieri field goal. Saturday night in postseason, prime time. They're at it again.
It's almost like it's been a division opponent the past couple years. And it's always been good, close games. And, I think it does help, the fact that we won at their place last year. But you go back to the most recent game. They beat us at our place at home. It came down to the wire, but they won the game. And but we certainly feel confident at our place that we can win. I know they feel confident. They came here and beat us, 6 weeks ago or so.
Both quarterbacks having outstanding seasons. Peyton Manning and Phillip Rivers have nearly identical completion percentage and passing yards averages. Rivers led the NFL in passer rating. No one in the league had more touchdown passes. And, of course, Peyton Manning, the second half of the season, has been red hot, leading the NFL during that time in percentage and passer rating. His last 4 games, Peyton 8 touchdown passes, no interceptions. So, guys, who has the edge here between these two?
Well, I don't think there is an edge between the two. I think they both are playing at a very high level. I think where the edge goes is in the running game. I really like what the San Diego Chargers are going to bring to the table at home. The San Diego Chargers, they have the luxury of, and it's facing another defense just like the Denver Broncos, a little softer, a little more finesse defense when it comes to stopping the run. And therefore, that means the San Diego Chargers, in my mind's offensive line, is going to have a great opportunity to put up points. And that guy right there, LT, is going to be the main guy who's doing it. And it's funny how all of a sudden I was watching Madden the other night talking about how LT found his legs. LT didn't find his legs. They just started blocking up front for a change.
Offensive line again.
It's all about
something like this. It's all about
it's
this.
all about that.
Always starts up front. But, you know, you look at these football teams and you look at the San Diego Chargers, they match up well for whatever odd reason with the Indianapolis Colts. And since 2005, the San Diego Chargers are 3-1 against the Colts. And Peyton Manning doesn't have his best games against his football team. 8 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. You know, you look at it, the 3-4, people say that Peyton Manning has a problem with the 3-4 defense. You know, I think it's the speed on the Chargers defensive side because they got a lot of guys who can get out to the quarterback. They can still cover in the secondary, even though they didn't play great this year. I think it's a matchup that, to me, the Indianapolis Colts don't like because the San Diego Chargers match up well with them. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Colts to go on the road and beat San Diego in San Diego this first round.
Yeah, but to go back to that 3-4 thing, and Tony Dungy's told me this, it's the fourth rusher. Because, you know, in the 3-4, you always have 2 good pass rushers coming off the edge, and it's that, you know, that Woodley, for example, who they want to put on a running back, which means Peyton's going to have problems because he's got somebody coming in his face. And so it may not be necessarily Peyton individually having a problem because of the scheme and the style of it, not knowing where that fourth rusher would come from. That's always caused the Colts a little trouble.
All right, we got a lot more playoff talk coming up. 'Tis also the season for coaching changes. We'll talk about that as well. Coming up, Giants defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo's name keeps popping up as that coaching carousel continues to spin. Adam Schefter will have more on that next when he goes around the league.
The NHL Winter Classic from Wrigley Field. Tonight, only on NASN.
Game-winning home scores!
Great moments on NASN.
Now all of a sudden the offense has started to kick in as well. High fly ball, socked to left. This one very deep. Gone! A 3-run homer. And it's back to being a mausoleum here at Fenway Park. That has put this ball game out of reach. 8-1 Tampa Bay. Rocco Baldelli, the kid from nearby Rhode Island, which has to be an absolute thrill for him. As a young man, saw many games at Fenway Park. As a little leaguer, made a bunch of trips here. How about this trip around the bases?
This year's Sugar Bowl features undefeated Utah's return to the BCS. But they have to face Nick Saban and the resurgent Alabama Tide in New Orleans.
Touchdown, Alabama!
The Sugar Bowl, Utah versus Alabama, Friday on NASN.
Schefter take you around the league, presented by BlackBerry. Adam, now that we've already talked Denver Broncos, let's step on now to some of the other coaching vacancies around the NFL. Yesterday, you very emphatically predicted correctly that Bill Cowher would not be the next New York Jets head coach. So what is the Jets' next step?
Well, I'm so glad that we could finally take Bill Cowher out of the New York Jets equation. And now that we have, Randy, you can start looking onto the Jets' other candidates. They're going to start this week by interviewing Bill Callahan, one of their assistant coaches. After Bill Callahan, they will go on Friday to speak with their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, who 2 years ago was actually offered the Miami Dolphins head coaching job. Schottenheimer turned down the Dolphins' offer to take a sweetened Jets contract. Last year, he was a finalist for the Baltimore Ravens head coaching job. And then on Saturday, the New York Jets will interview the Giants' defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, who clearly is one of the hot coaching candidates out there right now. Cleveland wants to talk to him. The Detroit Lions want to talk to him. But the New York Jets will get their crack at Spagnuolo on Saturday after he speaks with the Lions and the Browns on Thursday.
Now, other than Spagnuolo, who else do you think might conceivably be brave enough to step into that 0-16 spot in Detroit?
Well, they reached out to Todd Bowles, the Miami Dolphins assistant head coach, who's a disciple of the Bill Parcells coaching tree. Now, we've seen some great coaches come from the Parcells coaching tree. We've seen Bill Belichick, we've seen Romeo Crennel, we've seen Charlie Weiss, we've seen Tony Sperano, and now Todd Bowles is a coach that the Lions have reached out to, knowing that he can fix this leaky defense that was so porous last year, that made so many mistakes on the offensive side of the football. Todd Bowles is hardly the only coach that the Lions are scheduled to interview. They have arranged interviews with Jim Schwartz, the Titans defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, the Vikings defensive coordinator. They have reached all around the league to speak to whoever they possibly can. They are doing their own thorough and exhaustive search in Detroit.
Now in Oakland, interim head coach Tom Cable finished strongly, like a good stretch runner. Do you think he'll be able to keep that job?
Well, Randy, anytime you beat John Gruden and Mike Shanahan, Al Davis's two nemesis, in 1 year, and you prevent each team from going to the playoffs, you have the single best line to put on your resume. Al Davis has to like that. Plus, Tom Cable wants to coach the Raiders. How many coaches can say that? So he has a few things really going for him, including the support of his own team. Now, I do think ultimately, eventually, the Raiders will look at other candidates like Hugh Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens quarterbacks coach, maybe Kevin Gilbride, the Giants offensive coordinator, and maybe Jim Fossil, who's worked for Al Davis previously. But I think Tom Cable right now would be the odds-on favorite to get that job in Oakland.
Now in Dallas, the media is calling for Wade Phillips' scalp. Jerry Jones says that's not going to happen. What's the latest from Big D?
Well, we finally have coaching news out of Big D. They have made the coaching change that everybody wanted, but it's not the coaching change that everybody was seeking. They have fired their special teams coach, Bruce Reed. You remember the Cowboys' special teams this year cost them the game in Arizona, in the game that Tony Romo hurt his finger. Fumbles from Pac-Man Jones, repeated mistakes, allowing big returns and all types of big plays all season long, and the Cowboys had seen enough. They told Bruce Reed that he would not be back with the team next year. The man that had been the special teams coach in Dallas the past 2 years is now on the street. The Cowboys are looking for a new special teams coach, but every other coach is in place.
And somehow you get the feeling that is not going to calm the media in Dallas. Adam Schefter with his Around the League, presented by BlackBerry.
Happy New Year, Randy.
He's a nice guy, isn't that nice? Happy New Year to you too, Adam. Coming up, Paul Burmeister and Mike Mayock recap the Insight Bowl from earlier tonight here on NFL Network.
It's a new year of great North American sport this January on NASN. Super Bowl 43 is just weeks away, and we've got every playoff game live on the road to Tampa Bay.
It's a touchdown.
The BCS reaches its finale as Florida and Oklahoma compete in the national championship game live. The NHL's best light up Montreal with the All-Star Game. And we've got live conference matchups in college hoops. A new year of great sport this January on NASN.
Don't miss college football now. Friday at a special time, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll recap all the bowl action from New Year's Day and look ahead to an exciting January 2nd lineup that includes the Sugar Bowl between Utah and Alabama. Now for a look back at the Insight Bowl, Tuesday on NFL Network. Let's head out to Paul Burmeister and Mike Mayock.
Tempe, Arizona, pretty good place to be on New Year's Eve 2008 if you're a Kansas Jayhawk. After trailing 14-7, they come flying back to win 42-21. Number of Jayhawks played very well, offense and defense, but Mike, at the top of the list, you got to start with Todd Reesing, Desmond Briscoe, and Kerry Meyer.
I mean, between Briscoe and Meyer, they had 24 catches for 214 yards. You know, Briscoe, 14 catches, first play of the game. Great job by the quarterback, Reesing, keeping his eyes down the field. 60 yards later, Briscoe breaks the route, scores a touchdown. Beautiful corner route to Meyer, touchdown. And again, Kerry Meyer, the former quarterback, takes the lateral, stalk block, and release by the wide receiver Briscoe, touchdown. They're all underclassmen. They're all talented, and boy, did they show up tonight.
Yeah, we don't want to overlook what Kerry Meyer did. Outstanding numbers on this evening. Through the touchdown pass, also had 10 catches for 113 yards. However, Lindsey Soto spent time with only two Jayhawks, Todd Reesing and Desmond Briscoe.
Todd Reesing and Desmond Briscoe both set records in this game. You guys, the first back-to-back bowl wins in Kansas football history. What does it mean for the program?
It means a lot, you know, to come where we've come from in this program and what Coach has done. To get back-to-back bowl wins means a lot for our fans and for our team. And we've worked real hard at this, and I think we deserve it.
Des, you guys were in a rhythm today, the two of you. Tell me what it's like having this guy thrown to you.
Oh, man, it's a blessing, man. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the nation, if you ask me, man. As far as eluding pressure, I mean, just finding the opening. I mean, he just found me when I was open and we made plays.
Congratulations, guys. Impressive win.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Desmond Briscoe now with 92 catches for 1,470 yards and 15 touchdowns on the evening. Kansas Jayhawks pick up their 8th victory, 42-21.
All right, Kurt Warner to Bolden, Warner to Fitzgerald. Can the Atlanta Falcons slow down the Cardinals Saturday? Jamie Dukes fires up Cardinals cam to talk to the savvy veteran next.
The NHL Winter Classic from Wrigley Field. Tonight, only on NASN.
Hey, we established today what we are now. Hey, we established today what we are and what we want to be. Huddle up. Get tight. Hey, nothing pass down for me, bro? Appreciate it. Nothing pass down for me? All right, on the back. Yeah, there you go. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Come on. Watch screen. Hey, blue. Whoa. Hey.
Warner takes, fires, end zone, incomplete. Patrick Willis broke it up.
Let's go.
Really well defended by the San Francisco 49ers.
Let's go, baby. Let's keep it going, baby. Good job now. Good job.
21, under 9, ready?
Hey, don't tell my play.
Check.
If we can at all costs, when we like talking about where we're going, try to keep it like between us as much as possible. Watch, all right? I'm just talking to you because I had to talk to the other side first.
Warner takes, looking for the fade, throwing it left side. Fitzgerald leads, and he makes the catch. Touchdown, Cardinals.
He's a smart quarterback. He knows he just keep going like this. Yeah, man. Yeah, we see how good, bro. Hey, good luck, y'all, man. All right.
NASN, the #1 source for all your NFL coverage this season. We kick off each week with Sunday NFL Countdown, followed by up to 3 live games, including the top matchups from across the league. Mondays continue with 2 first-run games, followed by NFL Primetime and Monday Night Countdown with all the top stories from Sunday and all the buzz leading into the live game on Monday Night Football. Don't miss all the latest news, analysis, and features weekdays with NFL Total Access. Plus bonus coverage with NFL Game Day, Top 10, and Who Is. And come playoff time, we've got you covered with even more live games as the AFC and the NFC crown their champions with the Wild Card, Divisional, and Conference Championships. And the greatest game of them all, Super Bowl 43, live from Tampa, Florida. Plus your annual trip to the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. The NFL this season on NASN.
Left, it's caught Arrington to the goal line. He's in, touchdown. Warner back to pass, looking left, now back across the middle, finds Fitzgerald at the 5. He's into the end zone for the touchdown. And snap to Kurt, pumps left, and then throws left. Bolton on the catch of the 5, and he's in, touchdown. Warner had his arm hit, and it still found its way to Bolden.
And look at these numbers. Kurt Warner reached 4,000 yards passing for the 3rd time in his 11-year career and was selected to his 4th Pro Bowl. Warner's passing yards and completion percentage, both 2nd in the NFL, so there's apparently plenty of life remaining in that 37-year-old right arm. Let's take it over now to Jamie Dukes.
All right, let's fire up Cardinals Cam. Joining us, the young and spry Kurt Warner of the Arizona Cardinals. First of all, Kurt, congratulations on a fantastic season.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it.
All right, a little unfinished business here. Let me understand this right. Arizona Cardinals haven't been to the playoffs since
I have no idea. It was well before I was here.
Okay, and I understand there might be still a few tickets available for the Cardinals game?
That's what I understand, too. And I'm amazed myself that it's been, I think, like 35 years since we've had a home playoff game, and there's still tickets available. I'm hoping that won't last for much longer.
Well, speaking of much longer, I'm hoping you'll actually play a little longer. I mean, I know you're a little longer in the tooth, but you've had a fantastic year. And what are the prospects of Kurt Warner going to be an Arizona Cardinal for a long time?
You know, not really sure at this point in time. We haven't really talked about the future as far as me and the organization and what they're thinking. I still want to take some time after the season and make sure that I'm still ready to go for a while longer.
Come on! What do you mean take some time?
You just got to make sure. You just, every year at about this time, you're bumped and bruised, and you look forward to the end of the season, after the Super Bowl and all of that. I just want to make sure that I've got the energy to continue to do what I was able to do this year, and I can be the best asset for this team.
I don't know. Let me help you out here. I think you've had 3,000-yard wide receivers this year. Poised maybe to have your 3rd MVP, and you're talking about possibly letting it go?
Well, I guess you always want to leave on top, and we haven't been in this place for a long time in Arizona. We've changed the culture here. I've had a great year. But I am having a lot of fun. So, I'm not saying one way or another. I just want to get away from the game for a little while and make the best decision for me, find out what the plans of this organization are, and I can be well informed when it's time that I can decide if I want to come back, if I'm going to be an Arizona Cardinal, or what I want to do in the future.
Let's talk about some of the weapons you have. Anquan Bolden certainly, coming back off of the broken jaw. Talk a little bit about what you've seen out of him since he's come back from his injury.
I haven't seen anything different with Anquan, and I think that's the most amazing statement that I can make. When you see the hit, you saw what he went through. It was a devastating blow, and one of those that you only see a few times in a lifetime. And for him to come back and play the way that he has, with the same intensity, the same passion, the same aggressiveness that he had before, has been pretty unbelievable. And he's a huge leader on our football team. And, after that happened, I think it shook a lot of guys on our team. But the way he's come back and led this team and led by example has been really, really special.
Let's talk about the leader, the number one leader on this team, Kenny Whisenhunt. And will the real Arizona Cardinals stand up? I mean, you guys look great at home, and then on the road things have kind of bogged down. Talk about that as it pertains to your test against the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I think the big key is we're growing as a football team. We're progressing, we're making strides, but we're definitely not the best team in the league yet. We're not a great football team yet. And those are the things that we're learning. We have to learn how to win on the road. We've got to learn how to bring it consistently every single week. And now we've got to learn how to play in the playoffs. And this is going to be a great test for us as an organization, because we've got a lot of guys that have never been here before, don't understand how everything it goes up a notch for the playoffs, and how every team that comes to the playoffs is one of the best teams in the league, and they can beat you on any given Sunday. And so those are the things that we have to learn, and this is going to be a great experience for us. And we've already shown this year that we can play with anybody in this league. But the question is, can we do it consistently? Because that's what you have to do in the playoffs. You have to bring it every week, or you're going home.
As we talked a little earlier off camera about age discrimination, talk about the young fella, Matt Ryan, what you've been seeing out of this young man at quarterback.
You know, you don't get a chance to watch a lot of the guys around the league, but I have had a chance a couple times, being that we played some of the same opponents, and I've been thoroughly impressed with how he's played. He's made some tremendous throws. I've seen him, really confident throughout the year. I think one thing you see with a lot of young guys is they get a little tentative. They're worried about making mistakes. I haven't seen that in the way that he's played. He's come in really in control of the situation, seems to be in control of their offense, is making plays all over the place, and not worrying about making mistakes. And he hasn't made many of them, but it seems like when he does, he comes back out and he's firing, just like the best quarterbacks in the league. So I've been really impressed the way he's come in so quickly within that organization with the struggles they've had, and really has led them to a tremendous season.
All right, let's talk a little money here. Now, I've been talking about quarterbacks, and it just seems like there's age discrimination that's going on here, where it seems like they're showering a lot of money on a lot of young, unproven commodities. Do you feel that there is somewhat of an age and experience discrimination going on in the National Football League?
Well, I think there always has been in the National Football League, because the thing is you never know when somebody's going to hit that wall. And we all know that as you get older, you can't perform all the time as well as you did it as a younger man. And so all the organizations are kind of just waiting and trying to figure out, okay, what time is that going to be? What age is that going to be? And unfortunately for some of us old guys, they've kind of set that bar, whether it's 34, 35, you get up to 36, 37, and they're like, okay, he can't have much left, so we can't put too much money in it. But I think the thing that you realize in this business is that it's different for everybody. Some guys are able to play at a high level, well into the late 30s. Some guys even into 40. Some guys hit the wall when they're 30. And so I think that's what the organizations are worried about. But I don't know how you gear that, because I think it's different with each individual.
Kurt Warner, put your salesman's cap on. Tell fans why they need to come out to the desert and check Desert Swarm out.
They need to come out because we need all the help that we can get. It's great playing at home. Our fans have been tremendous for us all year long, and it gives us a distinct home field advantage. So all the red we can get in those stands, all the Cardinals fans from anywhere, come join the fun, be a part of this special season that we've had, and help us keep it going.
Well, Kurt, you're a special guy, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks a lot, Jamie.
Can you say Ticketmaster? Reed and Brad Childress are on opposite sides Sunday when the Eagles travel to Minnesota. More on that next.
Then Vince Lombardi has done it once again.
The New York Jets are the world champions.
Throwing under pressure, throws his pass, caught by Clark.
The New York Giants are the Super Bowl 42 champions.
What about right now? What about right now? Huh? Would you give it all up for me right now? I got you. Huh? Let's go then.
It's a new year of great North American sport this January on NASN. Super Bowl 43 is just weeks away, and we've got every playoff game live on the road to Tampa Bay.
It's a touchdown.
The BCS reaches its finale as Florida and Oklahoma compete in the national championship game live. The NHL's best light up Montreal with the All-Star Game. And we've got live conference matchups in college hoops. A new year of great sport this January on NASN.
Orpik gets in the way for Pittsburgh, away from Danny Greer. A long pass for Dupuis. He's in. He shoots one. He scores! Pascal Dupuis wins it for the Penguins.
NASN, the #1 source for all your NFL coverage. We kick off each week with Sunday NFL Countdown, followed by up to 3 live games, including the top matchups from across the league. Mondays continue with 2 first-run games, followed by NFL Primetime and Monday Night Countdown with all the top stories from Sunday and all the buzz leading into the live game on Monday Night Football. Don't miss all the latest news, analysis, and features weekdays with NFL Total Access. Plus bonus coverage with NFL Game Day, Top 10, and Who Is. And come playoff time, we've got you covered with even more live games as the AFC and the NFC crown their champions with the wild card, divisional, and conference championships. And the greatest game of them all, Super Bowl 43, live from Tampa, Florida. Plus your annual trip to the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. The NFL this season on NASN. A New Year's Day BCS doubleheader starts with the Rose Bowl. Coaching legend Joe Paterno and his Nittany Lions take on the Trojans as Penn State and USC go head-to-head in the Rose Bowl. Then in the Orange Bowl, the Cincinnati Bearcats look to claw out a win against Virginia Tech's Hokies. A BCS doubleheader tonight on NASN.
To cut your own highlights, here's how we see it, presented by Samsung.
Bennington pumps, steps up, looks right, throws right towards the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Anthony Fasano, the tight end.
Hand off Tomlinson. Left side. 10, 5. The knockout punch. Touchdown. San Diego. They're looking deep, firing deep. Near side, Fitzgerald, the pass there. And Fitz caught it. Touchdown, Cardinals.
Unbelievable.
To cut your own highlights, log on to NFL.com/recutter. The Eagles-Cowboys game last weekend was just one step in the equation. The Eagles also needed Tampa Bay and Chicago to lose, and they got that too. So now, Andy Reid's Eagles are in the playoffs against the Vikings of Brad Childress, who was once Reid's offensive coordinator in Philly. And Brian Westbrook gets a chance to test that tough Minnesota defense.
I don't know if it's necessarily kind of getting Brian going early. I think it's more for the offense getting going early. It's important that we kind of start out fast, and if it's passing or running. I think anytime you kind of get into the mode of just trying to run, just because everybody wants you to run, it takes you away from what you're doing.
I think we still need to give those guys a challenge, and I think we have the guys up front that can give them a challenge, but they've been very stout against the run, so it's going to be tough.
And a month ago in Minnesota, Tavares Jackson was the demoted backup. Watching from the sidelines as Gus Frerotte earned victories and accolades for his level-headed experience. But Jackson got his chance again several weeks ago, made the most of it, and now it's Tavares leading the charge for the Vikings Sunday in his first ever playoff appearance.
Try to treat it as much as possible as a regular game. You know, it's a lot more importance and a lot more pressure, but, you know, can't go out there and be out of pocket and do things that you don't normally do. Just try to treat it as the same.
All right, we heard a lot from the Eagles there about Brian Westbrook. Is that one of the keys to the game?
Well, it's one of the keys. You know, I look at it, you know, and Andy Reid and I, big men of stature. It's about recipes. You know, you think that Andy would understand what the recipe would be. Look at the numbers here. When you rush the ball 15-plus times in a game, 6-1-0. The numbers speak for themselves, and I'm surprised because I know Andy must love a lot of different things that he doesn't understand the importance of chemistry. And the key is going to be is to not only let McNabb throw the football, but use a recipe that works for the Eagles to be successful. These numbers are irrefutable. They speak for themselves. And every season you have different numbers. That number might be 20 carries next year. But nonetheless, as a coach, you have to find what works best for you, find that chemistry that you have, and then turn it around and implement it as much as you can.
And you look at this offense, and we know that Brian Westbrook is the X factor, but you look at their defense, feast or famine. When they're winning football games and this Jim Johnson defense is playing well, they're only giving up about 12 points a game. But when they're losing those games, they're giving up about 28 to 30 points a game. And can they repeat the performance they had last week against the Dallas Cowboys, which is outstanding for what they did? But you know, Jamie, when a team is blitzing you and hitting you in the backfield, if you get a 1-yard loss, you can get a 30-yard gain just because they're so aggressive, and you can beat them with their own aggressiveness.
Now, a week ago, you weren't completely sold on Tavares Jackson.
Yeah, I said one of the things that we had to see, I like what I was seeing, but the one thing that we had to see was whether he could come from 2 scores down and lead his team to victory. That was the one thing that was out there. And so far, what he's shown us, and again, it's amazing how the time you get to sit on that bench, how you can reflect. And think about life and pontificate on life. And I think that he gets this is not the same guy we saw at the beginning of the year. You could tell there's a confidence there, and whether it be maybe the weight of the world is off of his shoulders because they kind of got to the point where they're almost in the playoffs as opposed to having to win week in, week out. But certainly that was the last little litmus test that I wanted to see out of him, Rod.
I look at this young kid, and he definitely progressed and is playing extremely well the last 3 games. But let me give you some numbers. Against Arizona Cardinals, 17 attempts, they won the football game. Against the Atlanta Falcons, 36 attempts, they lost the football game. Against the Giants, 26 attempts, they won the football game. If he has to throw the ball this Philadelphia Eagles defense more than lose the football game, they have to run the ball with AP. If they can do that, let them sit there 17 to 25 throws, they have a great opportunity to win the game. But if they get behind early, and he has to come from Jim Johnson pin his ears back for his defense, get those exotic blitzes going, and make it a young quarterback very confused back there.
And Jim Johnson's got to be careful early with the blitzes because this is not Gus Frerotte who's lined up back there. One missed tackle, this kid could run the football and utilize his legs as well, which could open up a huge gaping hole for large gains because he's done that so far as well. So that's the other X factor that this young man brings to the table.
All right, Reed has been matched up against Childress one other time last year. The Eagles defeated the Vikings in Minnesota. So will the Eagles or the Vikings be represented in the top 10 plays of the year? Maybe that 99-yard pass to Bernard Berrien made it. We'll see. The top 10 is coming up next. Stay with us.
The NHL Winter Classic from Wrigley Field. Tonight, only on NASN.
For the widest choice of official North American sports merchandise. For the perfect gift to collect or just to look good and support your team, visit NASN.com.
The BCS party heads to Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl. Colt McCoy and the Longhorns just missed a shot at the national title.
How about Colt McCoy?
Texas has a chip on its shoulder, but the Buckeyes of Ohio State are on a streak. The Fiesta Bowl this Monday, live on NASN.
Top 10 plays of 2008, starting with Week 1's walk-off touchdown.
Here's what it comes down to. 2 seconds left. Jake Delhomme rolls out, pumps once, now throws end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown! Dante Rosario! And the Panthers have done it! Yes! Unbelievable victory.
Number 9, Sean Ellis from Week 15.
Why were they running the ball here? Why were they trying to throw it?
Coaches can lose game too, guys.
Yeah, but that coach got fired. Even though they won the game.
Jets 31, Bills 27. The Jets still didn't make it to the playoffs. Number 8, Andre Johnson on 4th down. Houston against Miami.
Nice Andre Johnson. Wow. Special player.
Texans won that game, 29-28.
Back. No, it's a bit of a razzle-dazzle. Back to Pennington, downfield in the end zone. Touchdown, Pennington got it!
I believe they call that a flea flicker. Number 6, Carolina's Steve Smith suspended in week 1, but he makes it here at number 6.
Make that tackle. That dude is good.
How about the tightrope, though? Look at that.
He's nice.
A lot of Panther love today.
Good for 65 yards. The Panthers beat the Cardinals 27-23.
8 seconds remaining. Rush is coming. Castle shifts out of the pocket. Castle throwing on the move to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! What drama!
That was Thursday night, and we were there. Number 4 from week 14. Watch this catch.
Oh my.
Antonio Bryant.
Nice.
200 yards receiving in that game, but the Bucs still lost to the Panthers.
Got time, throwing deep down the left side. He's got a man running free. Caught, 50, 40 down the sideline. There he goes, burying. Touchdown, Minnesota. 99 yards for Rutt to the former Bear.
The Vikings beat the Bears that day. At number 2, let's give Ed Reed some love.
Yeah, go on, Ed.
Breaking his own record of 106 yards, I believe it was.
Oh, he likes to take it the distance, man.
That one, 107-yard interception return for Reed against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Ravens won that game in a blowout, 36-7. And number 1, Troy Polamalu.
What?
The one-handed interception in the snow that gave the Steelers an 11-10 win.
He didn't even score a touchdown on this play because they blew the call. How can this be number 1 if you didn't finish the drill?
I didn't rank them. I just read them. That's the top 10 plays of the regular season. Now, that brings us to our 4 downs segment. When Rich Eisen does this, you guys have nice, comfortable chairs. Yes. Now, I show up and we're all standing.
That's right. They make you work.
They're putting me in my place.
Absolutely.
All right.
Me and you both.
First down. After missing the playoffs 3 years in a row, will Mike Shanahan be coaching in the playoffs for another team next season?
I sure hope so. Good guy, great coach. I hope he's there.
I do too.
Number 2, Chad Pennington won the AP Comeback Player of the Year award Wednesday. Was he the right choice?
No. Antonio Bryant, 83, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. This guy wasn't even in football last year. Comeback Player of the Year.
Chad was already. Anyway, Kerry Collins for me.
All right, third down. Your favorite moment of the 2008 regular season?
Yeah, to me, it's the league MVP. DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, he didn't win it.
Thanks for getting it right.
Good answer.
Favre coming back. But you do it one more time, buddy.
And quickly, 4th down, your New Year's resolution.
Quit snacking on my sweets.
No more resolutions for me. Not making any more New Year's resolutions. That's my resolution.
Go. And nobody gets to sing Old Lang Syne.
Happy New Year.
In a blink of an eye. It's all I need. It's all you got. Tip top. 3 seconds. Every snap, the clock starts over. It feels like an eternity. A perpetual nightmare that you can't wake up from. Tip top, tip top. When you know I'm coming, 3 seconds is all you got. Game over. Time plays a real big factor. I compare it to defusing a bomb. I have 3 seconds to defuse this bomb before it explodes. There's nothing like going after a quarterback. I would compare it to going after your prey. Scared quarterback running around, not knowing where he wants to go, where he wants to throw the ball. I'm on the hunt. When I hit the quarterback, I don't even feel it. You go hit him as hard as you can, and you run right through him. I have a fierce repertoire of moves. I haven't backflipped yet, but I might do that too. I have one real lethal move, spin move. Not everybody can do it. People try to mimic. There's only one like it. One of my nicknames, Tasmanian Devil. I'm spinning off the bus, spinning everywhere. I continue spinning, spinning, and spinning. I gotta get there, however I get there. My mission is to do 3 things. Hit the quarterback, hunt the quarterback, sack the quarterback. I wish you had more time. What I want the quarterback to feel is pain. I want him to feel fear. I want them to understand that, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this ball. So you got this maniac on the other side that's going to take my head off. Sack is the biggest play in the game. Changes momentum, causes fumbles, all types of things. And when I get a sack, it means the best feeling in the world. 1 Mississippi. Your heart skips a beat. 2 Mississippi. Your body tenses up. Boom. You remember me? I consider myself the bad guy. I'm that guy who ruins your star player, the quarterback, the precious quarterback, the guy who 5 linemen protect. It's my job to hit him as hard as I possibly can. My public service announcement for 2008 is D-Free building. Bigger and better than ever. Quarterbacks, you are not safe. Watch your blind side.
Now the team of 18,000 back in St. Paul, hoping for a New Year's Eve win for the Minnesota Wild. We look at the Western Conference standings. Yeah, the San Jose Sharks there on top. On a roll since day one of the season. The Wild struggling. Western Conference. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Terhar along with Mike Greenlay. Welcome to the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. Tonight's matchup with the Sharks, Mike. Well, we find a little good news, a little bad news in the Wild lineup.
And, of course, the bad news is that Marian Gaborik will not play tonight. He was hopeful. He did skate this morning before the team, but he is in the lineup. The good news, Owen Nolan is back, and that gives depth because the line, the top line for the Minnesota Wild, is getting checked very hard. And when they you need people to step up in your lineup. Buck, guys.